Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and MBs, and welcome back to class. I am Professor Andrew, and I'm also a cure for your Monday blues. Today we are doing part 3 of expressions that you would hear in the Victorian Era / Wild West. Class is in session. As some of you may know, I am quite dull, and that's what you're going to see in my left hand is my notepad. Because if you think I can retain information, well, you're wrong. I'm not that bright. If my intelligence was correlated with a color in the box of crayons that you would buy at the store, it would be like a dark gray, not bright. So the first expression we are going to cover is saved by the bell. Saved by the bell means to escape from a difficult situation narrowly or by an unexpected intervention. Now, a lot of people here in class today are probably already assuming where the origins come from for the term saved by the bell. I'm sure a lot of you are thinking about the old contraptions that they built way back when that would attach a string that would go outside of the coffin up into a bell just in case somebody was not dead when they were buried. Being buried alive was a very, very realistic thing that could happen back in those days, and that is why that the invention of bells outside of caskets became a thing. Actually, caskets with a device to let you know that the person inside was not a corpse but actual living human date back all the way to the 14th century. Even authors such as Edgar Allan Poe wrote stories about people being buried alive and the people who buried them not knowing. Patents in the 19th century were even filed for such contraptions to prevent people from being buried alive, like this one here. So if you think that is the origin story of the expression saved by the bell, you would be wrong. There is absolutely no evidence that these contraptions that they patented back in those days to prevent people from being buried alive were ever in use. And the phrase didn't even come about until the 19th century in terms of publication, and it was used as boxing slang. You know boxing where two fully adult people go in there and beat the shit out of each other? Yeah, that's the boxing I'm talking about. It was a reference to a very defeated boxer holding on for dear life and then the bell ringing to end the round. And that is where the term saved by the bell comes from. The people who thought it was the original origin story that I told, I don't blame you because I thought that too at first. The second expression we are covering today is not worth the candle. Not worth the candle means something that isn't worth the trouble or effort in order to achieve or obtain said thing. This was first seen in publication in either 1690 by Sir William Temple or in 1580 by... It's right here. I'm not going to butcher this name. Whichever one was first in publication, it does not matter because from this information we know it is of French origin. And regardless of the year of its origin, it still means the same thing. Back in those times, candles were a very expensive commodity. If the venture were one of very high expense, it would not be wise if the return was ample. Stating as if you were to light a candle for, say, a card game, and you didn't have much money to your name, the risk in this situation would definitely outweigh the reward, as you could turn little money into no money. But like I said earlier, the trouble or the effort that you will have to put into it is not worth the outcome. The third and final phrase, expression, or word in this instance we are going to cover is very near and dear to my heart, and that is the word dingus. Now, there are 3 different definitions to when I did my research on the word dingus. Number 1 being often a small article whose common name is either unknown or forgotten. Now the second one is actually US slang, and it stands for a dim-witted, silly, or foolish person. And for everyone in the class who has their mind in the gutter already, you're probably thinking of it's a slang term for male genitalia. Well, I got bad news for you. That wasn't used in publication until the 1970s. So back then, in the dates that we are talking about, nobody used dingus with that definition attached to it. So chill out. This word is actually from Dutch origin. I do believe the pronunciation is relatively the same, dingus, except it's spelled with a U instead of an E. The definition of dingus, in terms of the Dutch using it, is actually thingamajig, thingy, what's his name, or what's her name. The spelling that we use with the US is probably something to do with trying to make it look Latin. So that is the definition of the word dingus from the Dutch origin. Me personally, I don't use the term dingus to describe maybe an inanimate object. I usually just save it for things that are acting like a dingus. So I guess I use the US slang version for a dim-witted, foolish, or silly thing. Also, I do have the first recorded publication of the word dingus in terms of the American slang, and that was in the 1866 Milwaukee Daily Sentinel. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. And thus concludes today's class. Thank you everybody for remaining quiet and cordial through my yapping about English vernacular and the expressions that were used in the Victorian era / Wild West. Now, next week's episode might not be as cordial. We might go off the rails a little bit. But today, we're in a classroom setting, very professional. That's why I put on this nice Argyle vest. With no tie, because I'm the fun professor. Anyway, please leave a like if you've enjoyed today's video, or leave me a comment stating what you liked, or tell me what I should do next. Also, let me know if you'd like a part 4. I have a Patreon that has been opened up for a few months now. I have a few patrons, but I would like to say that I take pride in being funded by the community, and only funded by the community that watches St. Andrew TV. You will never see sponsorships here on St. Andrew TV. As for myself and everybody who contributes and edits and does whatever needs to be done for the videos to be produced on St. Andrew TV, we are all very in favor of staying very organic and having no external forces influence the content either which way, so you know everything is grassroots. With that being said, please do not feel obligated to donate to the Patreon. Only if your means allow you to do so. The YouTube content will forever remain free. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed as of late. But for those of you who have come across this channel or this video, maybe because you wanted to hear me say the word dingus, or maybe it wasn't just dingus that you wanted to hear, but a lot of other silly expressions that we have claimed throughout the years. Or maybe you just like to see me in my professor arc and thought, hey, I'd sit through a class if he was the one delivering the lecture. Think about hitting that subscribe button, because you're a daisy if you do. Wilhelm, quit playing with your dingus.